Okay, we're back with Numbers, and we're going to continue 14 to 18. I know it sounds short, but there's a lot of good stuff in there that's really important. So, let's get started. Okay, let me get my glasses on here. Okay, so I'm going to get a little closer this time because you couldn't see well. Okay, so we just ended prior to the key event on the spies came back from checking out Canaan or Israel today. But first I want to say the grapes of craving. Now we know where the title, the grapes of wrath, came from. The end of that in Numbers, the last video. So at least I just found that out. Okay, so the spies came back and the land, they said, oh, the land was great, but the men are too strong. The Lord said that was an evil report, and he was angry because they didn't trust him. Except, remember the ones that got rewarded? Well, 2 of the 12 spies did trust the Lord, Joshua and Caleb. They said, if the Lord delights in us, he will bring us back into the land and give it to us, which flows with milk and honey. Trust the Lord. But every one of the congregation wanted to stone them for their positive attitude. I don't know about you, but if there's someone that doesn't like a positive attitude, we know who they are. Now we know who the Lord sided with, though. The positive attitude one, the one that trusted him. Okay. So they rebel. And we can't beat those strong men. We should have just stayed in Egypt. We're all going to die in the wilderness or fall by the sword. All our children and wives will become prey. It would be better for us just to go back to Egypt. Let's choose a captain and go back. Now, Moses and the Lord are mad now. So here come the parents, the rewards and the punishment. The glory of the Lord appeared at the tent to all the sons of Israel and said, only Joshua and Caleb will be going to the promised land. And the other 10, well, they died. Did I remind you that God doesn't like complainers? Now, here, once again, the glory of the Lord appears at the tent to all the sons of Israel. And the Lord said, Moses, how long will these people despise me? How long will they not believe me, in spite of all the signs which I have brought them? I will strike them with a plague, pestilence, and disinherit them, and I will make you a nation greater and mightier than they. And Moses begs for the people and tries to flatter the Lord. He asks, but the Lord has had it. And he says, I have pardoned according to your word, but that's it. I have shown them proof 10 times, and they still have not hearkened my voice. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit, and he has followed me fully, I will bring him into the land in which he went, and his descendants shall possess. Okay, so he says, no, this wicked congregation has gathered against me, said the Lord. 40 years of wandering and complaining. They learned nothing. And of those 12 who spied, except Joshua and Caleb, they lost their inheritance. And they were killed with a plague. Yes, a plague. I was thinking of our plague. I take this lesson that the Lord is clearly telling me and all of us, you have to trust me like children. They've had 10 temper tantrums. And what did he say clearly in Matthew? You will not enter unless you come like a child. Full trust. Children trust fully, don't they? So we need to trust, and we need to stop complaining. I think he's making it clear. Accept, what does God give you? Accept whatever it is he gives you and don't complain. If it's not as good as the guy next door, that's too bad. Maybe he has saved something for you special and he doesn't want you like the guy next door. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so the rest of the congregation, once again, Moses tells them everything the Lord said, and they said, well, let's go and get the land then. The Lord said it was ours, and the Lord said he was giving it to us. Moses said, oh my gosh, no, listen to this warning. The Lord is not with you right now, and he is very, very angry. They don't listen, and they go in, and the strong men defeat them. I take this as, if you don't listen to God, you will never win. Never. So I guess like a parent, God felt bad for them in 15 for getting beat up. So he said, okay, I want you to bring these offerings exactly like this. Very specific in how the Lord wants his offerings prepared. He is very specific. If you don't know, it's right here in this book. But if you don't do it exactly as I want, all bets are off. It's just, if one of you sins, nobody will get anything. Yeah. Okay, Dad. Remember when Dad told you that? Okay. So, he tells them exactly what to do. Exact. Then, he's been telling them. And what does he find? While the sons of Israel in the wilderness, a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day. And they bring him to Moses. And the Lord tells Moses, have the congregation stone him to death. Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm getting the hint that I'm getting the message clearly. Do nothing on Sundays. He's repeated this many, many times already. But worship the Lord. Here goes again. Another repeat. How many times? I don't want to get up to those pearly gates and say, I told you, you're not coming in. You skipped Mass. And I warned you how many times. I'm like, oh my gosh. So now, do you notice that the Lord will use physical manifestation as reminders? Well, this is sort of like, I'm tired of the I forgot excuse. Tie a string around your finger. Okay, so the Lord literally tells them, put tassels on their garments, and he tells them exactly how, and the right color, to remind the people of all the commandments, the 10 commandments. Can you imagine how frustrating it must be for him that we don't listen? He wrote a 600-page book, and most of us haven't even read it yet. So how can we teach our children? I don't know. I'm frustrated with myself. I've read hundreds of books that are 200 pages each. This is like reading only 8 200-page books. It's a lot more interesting than I thought it would be. Okay, so 16. The revolt of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. So here we go. After the stoning of 250 leaders, well-known men in the congregation go against Moses. They're like, you have gone too far. Meanwhile, Moses was just following God's instructions. Don't we hear that a lot today? Okay. The whole secular world's telling us, you've gone too far expecting people to follow rules. Well, evidently God expects us. That's a key event. We're going to get to that. Aaron's rod. Okay. So, but they yell, Moses, you're not the prince over us. And on and on. And then they attack Aaron because they're jealous. He's a priest. Yikes. Sounds like some other Christians we know that attack our priests. Then boom. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram gather them all against them at the door of the tent. And suddenly the glory of the Lord appears to the whole entire congregation. Right here. The Lord told Moses and Aaron to step back that I may consume them. It says it. It says it. And he tells them again to step back. He calls them those Korah and all of them wicked, and tells Moses and Aaron to touch nothing of theirs or they'll be swept away with all their sins. And he says, if the ground opens up and swallows someone and all their belongings, you know that person despises the Lord. And with that, that's exactly what he did. He closed the earth over them. The earth opened, swallowed them, all of their stuff, and then closed the earth. Moses and Aaron ran as fast as they could, hearing the men screaming from inside the hole. They knew they better not go after them because God told them. But he wasn't done. Then he brought fire and consumed all 250 men that offered the incense that had said, and then he says right here, those men who sin cost their lives. So let them be made into hammered plates and covering the altar, that they shall be a sign for the sons of Israel, a reminder that no one but a priest burns incense before the Lord. Wow. Because over here, they went to try to say, well, we don't need a priest. We can do this incense ourselves. No. Okay. That was, wow. That was very dramatic reading it. Okay, the plague strikes. Yep, he's not done. The next day, the rest of the sons of Israel are murmuring against Moses and Aaron after all that. They didn't see those 200 men that saw the Lord before he buried them. The rest of the thousands. So they think, you've killed the people of the Lord. Can you believe these people? They're not listening. They don't believe. And so the Lord says again, get away from this congregation. I'm about to consume them. But Moses, quick, says, oh God, please, let's not do that again. And he says, Aaron, quick, get the incense. Let's make atonement for them. For the wrath has gone forth from the Lord, and a plague has begun. So a plague did begin, but they offered the incense and stood between the dead and the living, and the plague stopped. But not before 14,700 people died from the plague. I was thinking about our COVID-19 right now. Okay? Who has really made the Lord mad in today's time? Yeah, I can think of a lot of us. Now I know why he has this reputation of being an angry Lord in the Old Testament. But I can kind of understand these people don't listen or trust him, no matter how many times he shows them signs that he's here and he's there, like he's shown us. Well, speaking of that, the next key event is Aaron's rod. Okay? Number 17. Okay, so the physical manifestations. Remember the string on the finger? Now, remember when your parents had a paddle hanging on the wall just as a reminder not to get out of line? Well, the Lord told Moses to speak to the sons of Israel and have them give you 12 sticks, one from each leader, from each tribe. And he said, write each man's name on them, and then write Aaron's name on the stick representing the Levites. Take them to the tent in front of my presence. You know, the tabernacle, he says, in front of the covenant box where I meet you, and leave the sticks there. He told them to come back tomorrow. Then, the next day, Aaron's rod is blossomed and sprouted almonds. the Lord told him to hand back every leader their rod and put Aaron's rod in front of the covenant box. And it is a warning to the sons of Israel. They will die unless their complaining stops. I mean, wow. Wow. Yeah, I think we got the message. But honestly, I'm really not sure about the Israelites. I'm really not. They're still like, so if we go near the tabernacle, we're going to perish. They still don't get it. Okay. So, the duties of the priests and the Levites. And we're going to do this, and then we're going to end it on that. Duties of the priests and Levites. And then he tells Aaron and his sons they must suffer consequences of the service in the priesthood. So, it's not supposed to be a fancy walk in the park. And then he tells them to bring the Levites, but they must not, and nobody but the priests must touch the sacred objects. So the next time a protester tells you priests are no better and we go directly to the Lord, where do you get all that fancy stuff that your priests do? You say directly from the Bible, because it's all here spelled out in detail, everything in detail. Okay? It's all in detail. So, okay, he lets Aaron know that the Levites are a gift to them to help them fill their responsibilities, the priests. But also that the priesthood is a sacrifice and a gift, and no one except a priest shall touch the sacred objects. Once again, I repeat, not even the Levites. If anyone does, they will be put to death. And right now, I pretty much think he means it, because he's killed a lot of people, and that's kind of scary. So, then he says the share of priests and Levites. Aaron and his sons as priests shall get anything not burned for sacrifice for the Lord, like the firstborn of the sons of Israel's animals, as a perpetual debt, but they don't have an inheritance of land, and they don't get any land, because the Lord says, I'm enough for you. You don't get inheritance. I'm enough for you. And yeah, I know you're probably thinking what I'm thinking. Okay, the last part, the share of the Levites, is kind of basically the same thing. They get no property, but they do get tithes. So they get a little bit more than the priests. They get a paycheck, and I guess that's kind of like the deacons. So we're halfway through Numbers, and so far I think it's amazing. So that's a big climax right there on all of that 40 years of misbehavior. So I will see you on this last half tomorrow.